But there are also practical reasons. If you can categorize people into classes, you can track how society is changing. Is poverty increasing? Which people are entitled to welfare privileges? Are welfare programs making a difference? Are people able to rise out of poverty? This film focuses on class inequality, but other forms of inequality are also important. Stratification researchers study structured inequality, like race and gender discrimination. We'll return to these ideas later on. First, we're going to explore 4 basic concepts to help you think critically about class. Then we'll cover key perspectives on class: Marx, Weber, functionalism, and Bourdieu. We'll also discuss class in the U.S. And as we wrap up, we'll explore how sociologists have critiqued class. Class, 4 problems. Let's start in by talking about 4 problems in class theory. 1. Is class objective or subjective? If class is an objective category, it's something that's really out there. You can study the real structure of society, whether it's like a pyramid or a series of layers, whether there are 2 classes or 20. Society could have a hierarchical class structure. People talk of climbing the ladder up from poverty to the highest rungs of wealth. The higher you go, the more money and power you have. Or, class structure can be relational. Sometimes it's hard to say whether one class is higher or lower than another, but you can still study the real relationships between different classes. Maybe service professionals like doctors are in a different class from corporate leaders. Who is higher up on the social ladder? Hard to say. But even without answering that, you can study the relationship between these classes. Do they team up to exploit the workers? Or is there competition and antagonism between them? On the other hand, you might want to study class as a subjective category, not an objective one. Here, it doesn't matter if classes really exist, if one class is higher than another, or if doctors and CEOs belong in the same group. When you study class as a subjective category, you think about issues like class identity and class consciousness. For instance, sociologists have found that most people in the U.S. think of themselves as middle class, almost regardless of how much money they actually have. Think about what it means to study class as objective or subjective. Why might you want to study society's objective class structure? Why might you want to study class consciousness or attitudes about class? 2. The peanut butter problem, or is class chunky or smooth? As we'll discuss, Karl Marx broke society down into 2 basic classes, the workers and the capitalists. But if you look around a city, you'll discover an incredible range of people. The well-off, the very well-off, and the uber-rich. People who are struggling. People who are really struggling. Does it make sense to describe society as chunked into discrete classes? Maybe it's better to use gradational measures, to think of class as a gradient from poor to rich, from powerless to holding the reins of society. Gradational measures might be simpler in a way. Is somebody making $30,000 a year more like somebody making $35,000 or $25,000? If class is gradational, you don't need to worry about that. On the other hand, if you don't break society into chunks, you might miss some of the subjective effects of class. Maybe people who work as plumbers all feel group solidarity, even if their incomes are very different. 3. Equality of opportunity, equality of outcome. You may have heard these phrases before. Equality of outcome reflects a socialist or communist ideal. In Marx's famous words, from each according to his abilities, to each according to his needs. If you seek equality of outcome, you want all individuals to have equal resources, status, and power. But if you're after equality of opportunity, You want all individuals to have the same opportunities, but that doesn't mean everybody must have the same results. Even a society with perfect equality of opportunity will probably still have inequality. Some people work harder than others. Some people are more talented and ambitious than others. These differences will create inequality, but it's earned inequality. Equality of opportunity is tricky to define, but here's what it's not. Hiring your new employee by randomly selecting from the pool of applicants. Yes, everybody had an equal chance to be hired, but that hiring practice is not equality of opportunity because it eliminates the idea of merit. By picking at random, you might hire the person with no experience instead of the award